After examining business fraud for so many years, I've come to wonder about why it is people actually commit it to begin with. Now, we're all very familiar with the term greed, and greed, of course, being from the movie. However, greed is not good, as the movie says. In fact, drive is good, and drive is productive. Greed is when drive goes out of control and goes into overdrive, and in fact turns out to be somewhat destructive, if not very destructive. But there are other reasons people commit fraud. There's two major reasons, with two subsets. The first one is survival. Survival in a corporate or company operation means to actually falsify documents, falsify information, to either increase profits or reduce losses in order to influence either investors or buyers or lenders that in fact they are doing better than they're really doing. And if they left the books exactly the way they would be normally, the company would be in a lot of trouble, and therefore management would be in a lot of trouble. So cooking the books and falsifying information for the accountants and manipulating the accountants is one method of company survival. The second one is personal survival. Employees of companies sometimes have an emergency need for money. Say, for example, in which you won't know in a search, if they have a habit, whether it's a drug habit, a drinking habit, a gambling habit. Some of them may even have an affair that they suddenly need money for. Well, people in this kind of a situation generally, if they don't have the savings, will look for it from wherever they have and wherever they can get access to, and companies are like a pool of money and they'd like to jump into the pool. The second part is more legitimate. It's a personal emergency, whether it's an accident or a medical problem or some other reason that they need a fair amount of money that they don't happen to have. And instead of asking to borrow it, and they think that they're trusted, and they're sure that they're trusted, then very likely they're going to steal it from the company itself, and hopefully either not get caught or be able to explain their way out of it later on. A terrible idea. But when somebody is in such a spot, you'd be surprised what goes through their head. The next part is fraud of revenge. That means you're getting back at somebody, and there's two parts of that. The first one is employee revenge. How many of you have had an employer who's absolutely brutal, verbally abusive, nasty, demeaning, degrading, and your stomach starts to turn into knots as you open up the front door knowing that you're going to spend the next 8, 9, 10 hours with that person? Well, these people bring out some of the worst in their employees. They get people to falsify time off. They get people to not directly work less hard than they necessarily would. It involves a lot of people leave their jobs earlier and they have a lot more turnover. And if you think this is not the same, then an employer who is watching this must think the fact that they want to be treated and they should be treating their employees the same way they want to be treated, because we all have a similar subset of feelings. Whether or not very few of us enjoy being verbally abused, we work better and more productively if we're in fact treated with decency and respect. And the funny thing is, all of this doesn't cost the company a cent to do. It just takes effort. Many people would rather buy something, a gift for the employees, than put in the effort to say please, thank you, and talk to them like they're a person with a little bit of dignity and respect. The other part of revenge is personal revenge. Say, for example, somebody is getting divorced and the future ex-honey decides that they'd like to get more of the money, or they've decided that the future ex-honey should be getting less of the money. Divorces are the worst possible kind of business breakup. Well, people will commit fraud by if they own a company, they all show the company not make as much money as before. I've seen this many times. The same thing goes on if someone is having an illicit affair, for example, and they break it up, and the person being broken up with says, hey, I'm getting the short end of this, I want more, and I'm going to find a way to make your life miserable or ruin you because you're leaving me. So you have greed, which we all know about, two kinds of survival, and two kinds of revenge. Let's be careful out there.